Well, we all know it is Buckeye season here in Central Ohio year-round, but really things are ramping up now. Spring practice will open next week, and we're going to break it down with the one and only Tim May. 97.1 The Fan. What's the name of your podcast?
The Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall.
That's easy.
Yeah, and of course the one and only Adam King. All right, fellas, camp opens, and it's always big. You know, every year I say this, it seems like I say the same thing. It's big because, you know, you're starting over. But to me, more so this year than maybe in recent history, only from the standpoint you bring in so many guys from the transfer portal, and then you got, 25 freshmen? You've got nearly 50 new players that are going to be on this football team. And, oh, by the way, you've got some new offensive coaches, including a new coordinator, Tim.
Yep.
You know, they've been working hard in the winter conditioning, but that's not real football. This is going to be real football, and they have got to bring this team together, and we'll see what Art Smith's all about with his offense.
Well, as I've quipped on my podcast many times, you know, it seems like everybody should be wearing a name tag, not just on the back of their jersey, but on the front, so they can figure out who's who. When you start yelling at somebody, you don't want to. I mean, we're talking about half the roster has been flipped, which is pretty sure that's unprecedented for Ohio State, and it's not that unprecedented anymore in the modern scene with the transfer portal, et cetera. But this is definitely, just like last year was different compared to the year before, this is going to be big time different in the sense of all the new names involved, including, like you said, Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator.
Adam, and there is a sense of urgency, and, you know, getting to talk to Ryan Day on the Buckeye Cruise, I mean, the schedule does not lie. He knows what's coming. And they don't have time to dilly-dally. I mean, they have got to get this thing together. And, you know, unfortunately, the game has changed. I think it's unfortunate. I liked it when they would bring guys in and they'd be here a while, and you would develop them and you watch them. They're going to go after the five-star players still, the Jeremiah Smiths of this world. But the clock is ticking, and you got to find a way to get on the field because at the end of the day, all these guys want to be paid. But there is a real sense of urgency because the schedule next year, that anyone that thought it was an easy schedule this past year, I don't want to hear that when it comes to next year.
Well, they've got the toughest schedule in the country. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
On paper.
They're playing at USC. They have Oregon at home. They have to go to Texas, and then they're playing the defending national champions on the road in Indiana. But I think the perfect encapsulation of what this spring is going to show and how different it is if you watch what happens with Chris Henry Jr. over the first couple of weeks. Because Chris Henry Jr. is obviously, in this investment age of college football, a major investment for Ohio State. So I don't think where we typically watch a freshman come in on spring practice and be the last guy through reps and kind of make their way and slowly, get acclimated. That's not how this is going to go. I think it's going to be a very similar to what we saw from Jeremiah Smith, where go time is the day he steps on campus. Obviously, he's already going through workouts, and that's big. But we don't know how Cortez Hankton is going to handle his room.
All right.
You have to imagine he's not coming in with a lot of other – I mean, he knows Kyle Parker, but he's not coming in with predetermined, this is the order, this is what I expect. And so everybody on day one is meeting Cortez Hankton just as they are Arthur Smith. So it's going to be interesting to see how they make sure all these guys that are young and transfer guys are ready to go on day one of camp.
And I think, Tim, that's the new expectation when it comes to college football, that when you come in now, you're expected to play. And the reason being, these guys that are highly touted, five-star receivers or offensive linemen, whatever it is, they're getting paid. They now have agents. And, the agents, that's the reason a lot of guys went into the portal, because the agents, they want to get a payday too. And I don't know, in some cases I'm hearing these guys are getting maybe 25%. So, they're trying to make as much money as they can. And so the days of just waiting, and so Adam's 100% right. These guys coming in, especially the guys in the portal, there's, you're here to do one thing, play and make a difference.
Yeah. That doesn't mean you will, though. I mean, that's the point. I mean, just like we saw with the offensive lineman last year, Phillip Daniels comes in, pretty much grabs that starting job at right tackle. Ethan Onianwa was the guy we were all raving about from Rice. Daniels was a hit. Onianwa, anybody will tell you, was a miss, especially probably the rumor of how much money, they paid him, which is still out there sort of in a gray area. But the bottom line is he was a miss. So everybody you get, even in this realm, in the free agent realm of college football, and even in the recruiting realm, they're not all going to be hits. That's why, but you've got 105 guys on your roster, which you can work with. But yeah, you're still rolling the dice to a certain extent.
Adam, to me, the big things they're going to be working on this spring, obviously Matt Patricia's back. That's huge for the defense. I think this defense has a chance to be outstanding under Matt Patricia. But offensively, you got new coaches coming in, including an offensive coordinator. Now, if you look at what Arthur Smith has been about, he's a run tactician, and I believe that he's going to re-energize this running game. Unfortunately, they're going to have some guys that are sidelined that have injuries.
They're two main guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah. But I think they're going to work on the running game. They're going to put that in. I think he's going to bring some new ideas to the running game. The other thing I think we're going to see is I think they're going to, and Julian Sand can run.
Mm-hmm.
He probably should have run in those last two games of the year. That's the one thing that has changed, not only with college football. The quarterbacks always run in college football, but they got away from it a little bit. But even if you look at the next level, the National Football League, quarterbacks now run. Not every play, but you got to keep the defense honest. And I think they're going to work with Julian on reading keys and saying, hey, the defense is giving me this. I got to take that. I think that's going to be a big part of the spring.
I think a lot of this spring is going to look similar to the spring of 2024 when JT and all those and Jack and those guys returned. But it's going to be on the offensive side of the ball because they pretty much return every key position. Tight end, there's some question marks there. Yep. Wide receiver 3, you have some questions on how Chris Henry and those guys are gonna get up to speed. But in reality, you know who your RB1 is. You know who your RB2 is. You want to incorporate these transfer guys. But it gives you the opportunity now because you're not just taking these young guys and trying to grow them and using spring practice as a way to get them acclimated. Instead, to truly implement what Arthur Smith wants to do. He has the opportunity, much like Chip Kelly did, to come in and say, for these next month and a half in practices, for every one of those, we are going to learn what we need to know so that fall camp is absolute go time. You're not trying, as much as Cortez Hankton is trying to get up to speed as a wide receiver coach, it's not like when you're bringing in Tyler Bowen, which can be so much tougher on an offensive line and their cohesion. There's so much already there on offense. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see how they take that and how they really use this offseason as more of just a development into the new, as you talk about, the new run game and also the new passing attack.
With that said, Tim, how much do you think Ryan Day and Arthur Smith are meeting right now? Ryan Day, no question, he loves to throw the football, and he is the quarterback whisperer. And then you match him with this guy who was an NFL head coach for 3 years and pretty successful at one point, is a big-time assistant. But everything you hear about him, the run game, the toughness, and talking to the O-linemen that were on the Buckeye Cruise, they told me they love this guy, that there's a nastiness that's going to be on the O-line that he's bringing and all that. With that said, what do you think he and Ryan are doing right now as far as, and at the end of the day, it's the Ohio State offense. It's not his, but they're going to work together to create some things.
Well, he's coming in with a mandate from Ryan Day to get the running game back in order from a consistency standpoint. Basically, that starts with the offensive line, as we well know. And, it's no secret last year, the right side of the offensive line, specifically right guard, against the big-time opponents was not up to snuff. Inconsistent is more the way of putting it. So that will be job one for Arthur Smith, along with Tyler Bowen, is to get that figured out. That, to me, right guard is a linchpin of what's going to happen up front with the rest of the offensive linemen, whether they're going to mix and match guys, whether they're going to take Austin Sareveld and move him over and let Ian Moore be left tackle, whether Ian Moore is going to be right tackle, Sareveld stay at left tackle, and Philip Daniels move down into guard, whether Gabe Van Sickle and Padilla are going to step up. Are they going to do the experimentation that I'm looking forward to watching on the offensive line is going to be key for getting that run game going. There's going to be a little bit of a scheme change, I think, also with the offensive line in the run game. So that will settle whether or not Ohio State does step up from a year ago in terms of having that consistent run game, because Ryan Day knows what they had the year before when they won the national championship. They did not have that last year for whatever reasons, and they're addressing that.
How much is it a scheme thing, Adam, or how much is it that, we got spoiled? We've been spoiled here over the years. I mean, I remember Zeke Elliott, home run hitter. I remember Trey Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I mean, these guys were home run hitters. I think that these guys have the potential to do it, but we did not see it a year ago.
Bo Jackson was a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, Travion Henderson in his freshman. No, I agree with you. But I'm saying anybody that expected Bo Jackson to step on the field and be Travion or Quinshon Judkins, it's just not proper expectations for a freshman running back. I mean,
but that's what was missing. You didn't have
100%. And we were halfway through the season. I mean, we sat in this exact spot, maybe not this exact spot, not this studio, but we sat at 10 TV and talked about James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson and how they were going to be the bell cows, and they weren't. By the end of the season, they were not really. Donaldson was involved, but it was Bo Jackson's world. So now you get a second year of him. Obviously, he's got to get healthy with the shoulder surgery. Isaiah West, I think, is a guy that by the end of next season is going to have taken that step where everybody no longer thinks of it as Bo Jackson's backfield, but both of theirs. And so, Dom, I just think it was a young running back room, and now they have the opportunity to go out and kind of take that next step. Carlos Laughlin's a great running back coach. When you pair that, the fact with now they're comfortable with that offensive line, I'm really excited to see, though, how spring ball goes, because we don't have West or Jackson out on the field. So we've got a chance to kind of see how does Jacoby come in and fit into that running back room. What do we see with Turbo? It's going to be really interesting.
But the way Indiana attacked that offensive line, especially that right side, the way Miami did, two different ways they went about it, but they had pretty much the same results. That's got to get ironed out. And he's exactly right. Adam is exactly right. I didn't mean to say he, but the bottom line is the running backs will be older, smarter, bigger, and they'll be fresh because they're not going to take part a lot in the spring because of both of them had shoulder surgeries. I'm talking about Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, and then Jacoby Jackson, the kid they're bringing in from Florida. I mean, we'll see what he brings to the table in terms of a little bit of depth, et cetera. No way of putting it other than the top two running backs going into last year were disappointments in the final analysis. C.J. Donaldson was good, but he wasn't great. And then, of course, Jay. I mean, I went and interviewed James when he was at down in San Antonio. I thought this guy had all the makings of being, another J.K. Dobbins type back. Well, now he's at Penn State. So, that's in your rearview mirror. What are you working with now? But I'm telling you, that is the job that Ryan Day has given Arthur Smith more than any other, is get that running game established, get it consistent, and we're not going to know until the second game of the year whether they've gotten it done.
Last thing, we've talked about every position. Wide receiver, you get Jeremiah Smith back, you get Brandon Ennis back, and this guy named Chris Henry. Do we expect Henry to just step in and and I will use yours against you? Now I'm going to give you a coup. If a dog bites, he bites as a pup. We saw Jeremiah Smith step up. Freshmen step up, my friend, in today's world. And so let me ask you, is Chris Henry, and I'm not doubting Bo Jackson, but the great ones step up.
The great ones step up, and Jeremiah Smith might be the greatest great one. So that's
I don't know. There was a guy named Archie Griffin who was pretty good
he
too.
Stepped
a few
up
years
as well.
Ago.
They all have shown that. He has to step up.
Zeke Elliott was pretty good.
There's no question about the fact Quincy Porter, Mylan Graham are not here anymore.
No.
They brought in Kyle Parker. They brought in the guy from UTSA. They cannot be your go-to guys. So yes, day one against Ball State, he's going to be on the field, and if they're going to beat Texas, the wide receiver 3 can't be a question mark this season. It's got to be a full go with Chris Henry.
Yeah, and the thing is, they bring McEwen, the kid they brought in from UT San Antonio, and Kyle Parker from LSU. Those guys have a track record. They're proven to a certain extent, and it helps that Kyle Parker has history with the new Ohio State receivers coach. So I think they feel pretty good about the wide receiver room. But I personally, from watching video of Chris Henry, because that's the only way I've seen him so far, I think he's going to be damn good.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
From the get-go.
Nothing should surprise us when it comes to Ohio State. And as we all
Certainly
know,
not with receivers.
As we all know, they do not rebuild here. They simply reload. And that's going to do it. Keep it on 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, 97.1 The Fan, for the best Buckeye coverage there is.